why you were running and your qualifications to become a board member.
Okay, I'm running because, again, like I said before, and I said before, because I did run 2 years ago. I am a concerned parent. Right now, I currently have 5 children who attend schools in the district. I went to school from first grade to 12th grade in this district, and I'm concerned about the education of not only my kids, but other kids as well. In terms of and so also, the other reason why I'm running is because even though I ran a couple years ago and I wasn't successful, I started thinking that I might just say, I'm just going to focus on my own kids and, leave the district as it needs, and it'll just do what it has to do. But then over the last couple of years, I've seen the same type of situations that we've had in the past in terms of educating African American students, educating students in both Pinole and Hercules, and I was asked by some administration if I was going to run because they needed some representation that knew what was going on in the schools and was also concerned about African American students, and so that pushed me to move forward this term. My qualifications: I'm an employment attorney, and so I've worked with unions and administrators of hospitals and things of that nature. So I'm able to get into this type of arena and talk, in order to deal with both union reps, union members, and then administrators who have to work with unions. So those are my qualifications.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's great. So you listed in your top priorities that if you're elected, you would, quote, have high expectations and creating a holistic atmosphere in order to achieve as one of your top priorities, and the goal of making this your educational priority. Can you identify very briefly a couple of policies that you think the school board might implement to make your goal a reality?
For high expectations? Policies. This whole thing about policies, I guess I disagree with that term because it doesn't seem to me that policies really work. We really have to get into finding out what each school is lacking and address those concerns. It's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing, so you have to get into each school and figure out what it is that those students need. In terms of high expectations, I am for education. I think kids should learn how to read and kids should learn how to do math. If they can read, they can do anything. If they can do math, they can be doctors, they can be scientists. And so when I say high expectations, I mean we need to get kids reading and learning how to do math. And everything else in terms of all these different policies that we have that no one's really implementing or finding out if they're being implemented at the school, that we need to find a different way to get the students what they need. So it's not so much policies, it's more so understanding what each school needs and addressing those issues. And I can be more specific in terms of what each school needs, but I mean, yeah, I think you know what I mean.
Thank you.
2 years ago, you ran for the board, and while some folks they show some enthusiasm, to have a partner, within the board. So they applaud that, and but others show some concern that you may be just focusing on your kids' school to be limited to some specific schools rather than the rest of the schools or the district as a whole. So since that election, what is that you have done in terms of attending the school board meetings or joining district-wide committees that will reassure folks that you have exposure and experience to lead a very complex district, which is nearly 60 schools district-wide?
Okay, so I've heard this comment before that people are concerned that they haven't seen you since the election. And my answer is they didn't see me before the election because I don't go down to school board meetings. I read what's going on and so that I know what's going on. But I don't go down to school board meetings and to try to change things that way. I don't think things are going to change that way. I am very much involved in the school of my kids because I'm a parent. If I was a school board member, then, you know, I'm not just a parent anymore, so you can't just be, I wouldn't be able to just be involved in my own kid's school. As a school board member, the tasks are different. As a school board member, you have to look over all the schools and make sure all the schools are getting what they need. And so as a school board member, that is what I would do. As a parent, I do something different. But I don't believe in going down to the school board and necessarily yelling and picketing and doing all this stuff that's been going on for the last 2 years. I think the focus has been off into, you know, building schools and making sure that we audit the finances and all this kind of stuff. And while all of that is going on, no one is educating the kids. And so I'm not going to, I don't know what people want to hear from me in terms of, you know, how I can reassure them other than to give them my word is that I do a job. And if I'm elected to do a job, and that's what I will do. If I'm not elected, then I'm going to go about doing what a parent does because that's my job. And my focus as a school board member is going to be about educating children. It's not going to just be about where's the money, what happened to it, the school, you know, all of this fuss around the building of the schools. You know, the focus just has to really change. And that doesn't mean that we, you know, forget about what's going on over here, but for the last, I don't know how many years, at least the 2 years since the last election, we've been dealing with the same thing about the money for building these schools. It doesn't seem like the focus has changed to education of students at all. And so that's what needs to change. And so that's the only thing I can tell people and to reassure them that, you know, I will do the job that I'm elected to do.
Next question.
Okay.
Some board members say they regularly commit about 20 to 25 hours per week to their school board position. Others say it's like a full-time job or more with many weekends and evenings. Are you able to commit 20 hours a week plus some weekends and, you know, the travel that you would have to do and participate on different state committees, etc.?
Am I able to do that?
Yes, in terms of being a board member. Are you willing to commit that amount of time?
Yes, I am willing to commit that type of time, and I think that part of that time needs to be spent at the schools to know what's going on. You know, I keep saying that it seems like school board members read reports to find out what's going on at the schools, and I'm not sure if they've gone up to the schools. Maybe they've been to my school when I wasn't there, even though it seems like I'm at my school every single day, you know. But yes, I would dedicate that time and probably end up dedicating more time if you really want to get in to figure out what's going on at all the different schools. Talk to different staff members at the school so that you can have that firsthand knowledge about what's going on. I work for myself. So my time is flexible. So although that some days I do have to be in court, for the most part I don't work a 9-to-5 job so that I have to be there 9 to 5 and then I can't get to any school board, you know, things until after then. So I'm flexible that way so that I can make the time.
Thank you.
So we're going to pivot to some specific questions on your questionnaire. And I know you've already briefly touched on this topic.
Okay.
We're going to bring it back to light. And it is around the $1 million forensic audit because it is a really hot button topic. And so you did say, quote, what's done is done as it relates to whether you would vote for the $1 million authorization of the forensic audit. And some would agree, of course, that, you know, there's no use in going back. And others who are in favor of the audit would say that that is one of the ways that the community would be able to rebuild trust, or if there was any hope of potentially having another bond introduced in the future, that this would be the surest route to strengthen the likelihood of that happening.
Okay.
What would you say to those people that had that rationale?
The rationale that it would encourage trust, or it would help with the...
Yeah, so the rationale of people who are in favor of the audit because of their idea that this is a way to strengthen community trust and to ensure that there is any likelihood of seeing progress related to a future bond being passed.
Well, I don't know exactly, I don't know if I could, I don't agree with, like I said no, I wouldn't have voted for it. The reason why is because, like I said, what's done is done. I don't see how spending $1 million that is supposed to be used for the education of children would help to encourage trust with the community, especially if you find out all these negative things that most people are thinking anyway. I don't see how that's going to encourage any trust. And honestly, I think encouraging trust with the community is a good thing, but the top priority to me is educating children. So another $1 million to do an audit, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. And while I think that everyone is entitled to their opinion, I would just have to, I don't agree with it. And then the other part you said, not just, ensuring some sort of future bond. I'm never voting for another bond, and I would push people not to do it. I spend $1,000 a year right now on my own real estate taxes for these bonds. It would have to take a miracle for me to vote for another one. So I don't see myself telling people, hey, let's do this so that maybe we can get a bond. I'm never going to, vote for another one. So I can't do it. There's nothing I can say to them except for, we disagree.
And that's how you would present as if you were to be elected as a board member, your stance would be the same.
Yes, and then the thing is, if I was elected to be a board member, the question is about $1 million. If I had been a board member, would I have voted for that? And so, unless the vote is coming up again, where we have to then explain to people, okay, this is why I don't agree with it. I understand where you're coming from, but this is where I'm coming from as as a board member and also as a community. I'm a part of this community as well, and so that's how I would present it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So. You have mentioned that Christian should be hired as part of the system.
Yes.
So, however, how do you feel that other people from different faiths, religions, or even agnostic people will feel about that concept, about the legality of the public schools using religion as part of the hiring process?
I didn't actually say that they should use religion as part of the hiring process. I said that they should look into hiring Christian people because a lot of African American students are Christian and they would relate to people of the same religion. I talked to a person who's an administrator right now, and he is from a different country, and when he came to the United States to start teaching, he came to a predominantly African American community. And even though he's African, and even though he has brown skin, he did not have anything in common with these African American children. So you know where he went? He went to the church, because that's where he could find out about the culture of this community. And so, and was able to learn a lot about that community. And so when I say perhaps hire some Christian people, when I was speaking about teachers that would be able to help encourage the African American community, that's why I said, perhaps hire a Christian. Now, that doesn't mean that non-Christians can't get the job. I'm not saying that you have to say, oh, are you Christian? No, then you can't get the job. Yes, that's illegal. But there are ways, I think that just because that religion and state are separate, it doesn't mean that people can't be Christian. You can say I'm Christian. You can be a Christian without it being illegal. You know what I mean? So It's just one, I'm not saying it as a checkbox. I wasn't saying it that way. I was just saying the type of people that would be good for African American students.
But should a Christian have a priority over a non-Christian?
No, that would be illegal. Yeah, I'm not suggesting that the district do anything illegal. I'm suggesting that the district try to find ways to help educate African American students.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This comes from your questionnaire.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, regarding non-English speaking families.
Mm-hmm.
You stated that I don't know what more can be done. One thing, for the non-speaking, I'm going to start over here.
Okay.
I had to take my glasses off
Sure.
to see up close. Okay, I don't know what more can be done for the non-speaking population other than encouraging them to learn the language.
Right.
Is there one thing you could suggest in working with these families as board members, especially since the reality is the population, the Latino particularly, population in this district is what, about 65, 70%?
Yeah, I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
What was your question?
Is there one thing as a board member that you could suggest in terms of working with these families, given the reality that the population, the Latino population, is about 65 and maybe 70%?
Right. Other than what the district already does, I mean, when I go to meetings, I see, for one, I know that most documents sent to families are sent both in English and in Spanish. When I go to different types of community meetings, there seems to be the instruments that are used for the interpretation of the language and also interpreters. And so it would seem like you could have employees that speak Spanish. I mean, but I think that that's already the case as well. So when I said that, I don't know of anything else that we could do because I don't speak Spanish, and I would say that would be what I would have to do is talk to someone, talk to Spanish-speaking families who would have the suggestions. What would be the best way for the district to communicate with you? And then get it from them. I don't know, I don't know. But I do have, at my school, there's a really high population of Spanish-speaking families, and so that's a way in which you can go about finding out what they need by asking them. I just can't pull something up out of what I think is best. I think that's kind of a problem. You know what I mean? Instead of asking them what's the best way for the district to communicate with you, we're just making things up ourselves about what we think is best, and I don't think that's the way to handle it. But I do think we should encourage English to be spoken. I think we should encourage that too. I wasn't saying that like, only speak English. I was just saying that other than what the district already does.
Would you say, in terms of public, say at the board meeting, one thing, or at schools, when you mentioned the translators,
Right.
there, would you be one to advocate for the translation of the parents, the Latino parents' concerns be in English as well as in Spanish? Because right now what we have is when Latinos are speaking to the board, the board members have the translators on, so the rest of us do not understand what the issues are.
Right.
So what would you think about that?
Yeah, I think you need to have a translator. Why don't you just have a translator translating their question so that everyone in the building can hear it? Then give an answer. They would give, they have a question. Whoever would give the answer, the translator would translate the answer. And that's what they do in the government. I mean, is it money that is the issue? I don't know. I don't know if that's the issue, but it seems to me that you would just have a translator. That's what the deaf people do. Deaf people, they have to have a translator, someone just sign for them.
Right.
So that's a language. We should be doing the same thing.
Thank you.
So this is the last question.
Okay.
And what do you think it would take for our district to be one of the best in the state?
High expectations. Right now, I don't think that we have high expectations. We're just, we're just trying to get students passing through high school. We're not moving fast enough in terms of education. 2 years ago, they were saying that all of the schools would have full-day kindergarten. My school still doesn't have full-day kindergarten. It might happen next year, but in the 2 years since the last election, it hasn't happened. So things like that, high expectations, and then the resources in order to educate our children. So not just big fancy schools, but we need teachers who care about students. And I don't want to sound like I'm not saying that only black teachers can teach black kids and only Latino teachers can teach Latino kids and so on and so forth. However, I think that at a young age, students need to feel comfortable. And I do know that, in the Spanish immersion classes, there's a lot of Latino kids and their teachers speak Spanish. The teacher speaks to their parents and the kids feel comfortable. And I think that all kids should be able to feel that way in their classes. And so in order to make this one of the best districts, we need to create a place of learning where children love school again. Right now, a lot of students I know, they hate school. They hate it. It's not fun. In Panoa and Hercules, there's no activities, there's no after-school programs. All of that has to change. I mean, you can't just be mediocre and then think that you can be the best school district. You have to, have programs. You have to be educating students. You have to be making sure these students and their families are happy. And, that's how we do that, I think, is back to the basics and educating children again. Moving our focus from building schools and what's happened to all the money. Believe me, I think it's crazy. I think people should be in jail right now, in terms of what has happened with how money has been spent on facilities. But we can't keep our focus there. Our focus has to move to the children, really to educate them. I think that we have another problem with this, I hate this, but the union. I mean, we have to be able to work with the union. It seems to me that the union is spouting out a lot of, not the union, but the teachers from the union are saying a lot of negative things about charter schools. And so now the focus has gone from facilities to charter schools taking all the money. I mean, the focus has not been on the children. And I don't understand why the focus is coming from a from the teachers union about charter schools when the teachers union is about, taking care of the teachers. So, all of that to say that if we start educating and focusing on the education of students, then this could be the best district out there. But I want to say one more thing. One other thing, I put that in my questionnaire about the arts and all that kind of stuff. That has to come back. We don't have, all this school district seems to do is test. There's no choir, no drama. We do have band at our school, but there's nothing else going on. I'm proud to say that I'm the director of the talent show. I do it every year, and I make a big production because I think the arts are important. So that needs to come back because that will help support a learning environment. So that being said, I'll leave it at that. I don't see my timer anymore, but I know it's probably over 2 minutes.
That's fine. So now we're going to transition to...
Okay.
This last question into something more concrete. Can we assume that you are saying that a more concrete action or course of action for the district to change or to be one of the best in the state is probably educating through arts? Yeah. I know, we know, education is so important. Of course, that's the main goal, but...
I don't think it is the main goal of this district.
No?
So, no, I don't. I think building schools is the main focus and the main objective of this district. I don't see how you can think that a beautiful school is going to educate students. Now, that doesn't mean that they need to be in a shack, where it's unsafe and all that kind of stuff. But a $220 million school is not the answer to educating the students. And so, to be more concrete, I think then maybe I should say that in order for this to be one of the best districts, then education in terms of actually teaching children something, teaching them, through English and science. I think those are very, very important. English and science and math. Math and science go hand in hand, but English and math need to be the priority. We spend a lot of time the kids spend a lot of time doing homework and things like that. I mean, hours on homework that, in my opinion, is not doing much, where we could do reading for comprehension, engaging in conversation, math, so that you can do science and engineering. Those, if we move to educating children in that way, those are the focus, and then you use art to support those things. So my objective is to, when I say education, I mean back to reading and math. English and math, because then that math leads to science, and that's what's going to take this country to the next level. Science, I think.
Thank you.
Yes, I looked at your statement,
Yes.
and you mentioned that you attended San Francisco State and majored in special education.
I majored in liberal studies, and then after I graduated, I was going to be a special education teacher.
Oh, okay.
And so I was in the master's program for special ed, and it was a master's credential program. And then I did student teaching while I was enrolled in the program, and that's when I decided I didn't want to be a teacher. So I love teachers, but it's a lot of work.
It is, it definitely is. But what I wanted to ask, based on what you know about the special ed programs and services in the district, how would you rank them? And what would be some of the areas you would try to focus on as a board member at the site level?
I think that I'm back to the one-size-fits-all thing here, because it seems like special ed is, you got to hit all of these, you have to have all these different issues in order to be special ed, to be labeled as special ed, and then you get the resources. It's almost sad, because sometimes you might want to have your child be labeled special ed so you can get some resources, because there's not a lot of resources for children who aren't labeled special ed. However, that being said, there needs to, I think, it needs to encompass a variety of ways in which to teach students. Every student is not ADHD, or every student is not, and I don't want to say autistic, because that's a large spectrum. There's so many different disabilities that need to be addressed. I think when you put the kids just in a one-size-fits-all type of special ed, moderate to mild to moderate to severe. I mean, those you need to break those down and be a little bit more specific. And I think that if the special ed program could be more specific to the different needs of students, then that would help. Because then you could address the specifics that, each specific child, rather than just saying, oh, they're special ed, and so let's give them a few extra hours of teaching, and not really addressing the issue. So I have a son in special ed. He has dyslexia. So, but all the kids do the same thing. And I think it's, I'm glad that he's there, he's getting what he needs, but I know that it seems as if the children are all kind of doing the same thing.
I have a question in regards to one of your responses regarding, when you're a board member, your job is to execute and be district-wide. When you're a parent, a lot of parents engage in the school site.
Right.
How would you engage and/or collaborate with a lot of advocacy organizations that have parents as advocates, attending school board meetings, maybe doing the protests or giving the public comments, or wanting to meet with yourself if you were elected as a board member? How would you engage with them?
You mean like parents and people who want to just talk to a school board member?
as advocates. So I know,
Oh, I see.
yeah, because you referenced the ways in which things get done.
Right.
And, you know, you made it seem that, you know, as a board member, you have a role and a
Right.
responsibility. And maybe it might not be effective for you as a parent to be advocating at the school board meetings, but some
Right.
parents do that.
Right.
And so how would you engage with those parents and those advocacy organizations that lift up those parent voices?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to keep communication open, you know, through email, phone, contact. Emails, I think, is really good. You know, even though I'm not at the board, I've had about, I would say, 3 or 4 issues just this year that came up, not just at my school, but with other parents, and I had to help them take care of. And I was able to email Dr. Harder, and things got taken care of. So I think that if there's open communication, so that someone knows that, you know, if I have a problem, I can email Ayana, and she's going to read it, and she's going to do whatever she can to help me. That is the type of open communication I like to have. But also, what I had suggested, and what I think is still important, is that there be some sort of committee at the school. It's not PTA, and it's not PTA, but it's like a representative, a teacher who's a representative, and that teacher, you know, talks to other teachers, other staff. Parents can come and bring their concerns to that teacher, and then those teachers will have all the information, you know, throughout the school district. And then all these teachers, we can come together, or those teachers in the school board can come together to address the issues of the school. But besides that, I think just open communication, like I suggested, or like I stated, that I had with Dr. Harder, and things just got taken care of, you know, just like that. So it was nice to be able to do that, to email him with my concern, and him say, I've talked to this person, they're going to call you tomorrow because we're going to take care of this.
And so you think do you recommend that being the course of action?
I do, yeah.
Great.
One of the things that kind of, you know, training to ask you is if you ever get involved into developing, you know, I mean, we have talk, you know, on how we can improve this system, how we can make education better.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that strikes me is if you ever been involved in developing any SBSA at your local school, have you ever been SBSA, the single plan, student achievement? Have you ever been involved into any school site council?
Oh, the school site council. Have I been involved with the school site council?
Right. Have you ever attended any of the school site council? How big involved? You have been with the school site council at any school? And even more, if you've been, you know, a body member, if you ever develop any, you know, single plan for student achievement into any of the schools.
I'm not really familiar with the single plan achievement. I'm not familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
Have I been to the other meetings? What do they call students?
The school site council.
School site council. I've been to, I think, one school site council at my school, at the school at Stewart. I did not go to the one in Hercules. I spend most of my time with the PTA, so I'm involved with the PTA on that side. So I understand what the school site council is supposed to do, and I felt that my time was better spent at PTA meetings and doing those things instead of being at the school site council, because I can't do everything. So to answer your question, yes, I've been to a couple school site councils. And then the rest of the time was with the PTA, and then I'm not familiar with the student plan, the student achievement plan. I don't know what that is, unless we call it something different, and it may be that.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, just following up a little bit on the school site council,
Mm-hmm.
and in terms of what the state and even feds to a certain extent have kind of mandated and support is, in which you've even talked about it, in terms of working at that site level to get things together.
Right.
And make certain that the voices are represented from the site to downtown or wherever in terms of the need of that particular site. And the students, really it's the students.
Right.
And staff. The school site council is supposedly the major body that develops a plan of action based upon the needs of the whole school, the students, the teachers, the culture, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And that plan is supposed to be evaluated yearly. And then you see what your goals and objectives are in terms of, and looking at the data of the school in terms of what is going on here.
Right.
The PTA, on the one hand, in my judgment, is basically an organization that helps to supplement and advocate in certain areas, because the national and the state PTA are very clear about the activities of that organization.
Right.
On behalf of the needs of the students and the parents and teachers.
Right.
So given that this school site plan is your like measuring tape
Right.
in terms of where the site needs to go to help the kids,
Right.
have you thought about rethinking your position on involvement in that particular structure, particularly as it relates to African American kids? Because if you look at the plan, you can see where the money is being spent at the site.
Yes.
And that plan is sent downtown, whereby decisions are made at the top level administration on what you need or don't need.
Right. So, just to address your concerns in that statement, at one point in that statement you said it's supposedly where the plan is created. And I think that that's an accurate statement, that it's supposedly where it happens. I'm also a part of the African American students group that has recently been started, and we hear the same thing about what's happening at the school site council meetings. And I've been to a couple, but also, even though that what you say about the PTA at our school is not like that. And so the PTA at our school is very involved. The people from the school site council come to the PTA to ask for money that they need because they don't have enough in their budget. Pinole and Hercules, as you know, do not get any special, every single thing that every monies that they get are from the regular budget, so it's easy for things to just get dropped off. In the very beginning of the school year, administration already has a plan for what they need for that money, just for the basics. So I don't think school site council has been doing what it's supposed to do has been doing what it's supposed to be doing for many years. As a parent, my time is better spent with the PTA because we're able to do more things. We're able to get the money we need so that we can make sure teachers have paper to print their home, their schoolwork and things on. So as a parent, yeah, my time has been better spent with PTA, making sure that we can help the school get, supplement, because they don't have a lot of the things that they need. They don't have a lot of resources. And so the resources that they already have, those are already accounted for. So, based on an agenda from the district. So if you have to test kids and you have to educate kids pursuant to the way the district has been doing things, then that's how your money has to be spent. The money that's not going to change until something changes at the district level. So that then the way you spend the money changes, or else you can't just say, well, here's the money and this is what we want to do. The principal is not going to let you do that, and because they need the money for, just regular things that they've already stated that they need for just to get through the school year. And that is the same concern has been happening with a lot of schools at the districts, not just Pinole and Hercules, but at this particular meeting that we go to, it is a lot of African-American parents who have stopped going to SST meetings for the same reason why I don't go, because it seems to be a waste of my time. And so my time has been better spent at like I said, helping the students get what they need through PTA. As a board member, I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see the SST really do what it's supposed to do, not just be what the principal says he wants to have done. And I'm not saying that's what happens at my school, but that is what I've heard from, a lot of different parents at this African American group that we attend every month. So it's not just me saying it.
I know we're out of time. I wanted to ask one really quick question,
Okay.
super general.
Okay.
Are the biggest strengths that you'd be bringing to that board, and then what are some challenges that you foresee?
I think the strengths that I bring is that I am involved in schools. I have a lot of relationship with parents from different schools, and so I think that's a quality that a board member needs to have so that they know what's actually going on. I also bring a legal background, so in terms of a lot of legalities that we face in this district, although I can't necessarily give legal advice, I at least know how to go about solving a lot of those problems or how to tackle some of those legal problems that the district faces. More strengths, I think that the love that I have for this district still, that for my community, helps because I'm motivated for it to be great. And so that's a strength. I think the challenges will be, facing a board that doesn't want to make changes, or, if I see things that are still doing, things doing the same thing over and over again, how I will be able to, mix that up some so that we can make changes. I see that as, a hardship coming in. I don't really see time or anything like that. I don't see things that I may not be familiar with right now because I'm a quick study. So I can get in and learn and figure things out. So I don't think that's a problem for me. But, being on a board where unless everybody wants to change, it'll be hard to make any changes. If people on the board think that things are going okay, the way things are going. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the
Thank you.
interview.
Thank you.